Uprooted Theatrical Studios presents.
It's 10 Tips Tuesday.
Hi everybody, my name is Allyson Levine. I am a New York City-based actor and singer. I hold a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Musical Theater from Nebraska Wesleyan University, class of 2018. I want to thank everyone at Uprooted Theatrical Studios for asking me to be here today, to be a part of 10 Tips Tuesday. And today I'm going to be giving you guys 10 tips or advice when finding the right undergrad school for you. And some of my tips are a little bit more specific to theatrical undergrads. But without further ado, let's get into it. So my first big piece of advice is looking into whether you want to experience a university setting, which is 4 years, or a conservatory, which is only 2 years. So really thinking about university setting, which is a longer experience, obviously, but also you get more classes involved in it. So you're not just taking classes for your major, you're also taking general education classes and things like that along with the classes that you need in order to accomplish your major. Whereas a conservatory is a more expedited process. It's only 2 years long, and your curriculum is much more narrowed down to just the classes that you need for your major. So it's very specific in the classes that you take for just those 2 years. So that's definitely something to think about when you think about what you want out of your college experience over those years. So number 2 is to definitely look into what city the university is located in. Is it a city that you would enjoy living in? Does it offer the things that you want? When you were living there, does it have good food? Does it have good entertainment? Things like that, definitely to look into because you're gonna be living there for a pretty extended period of time. Also, some people consider going to school in the places that they want to end up after college, some place that they want to live and work. But other people, like myself, I'm originally from Houston, Texas, and I knew that after college I wanted to start my career in New York City. So I decided to go with university in a smaller city because I knew that I wanted to have that slower pace when I was in college because I knew that my end goal was going to be in a much larger city and much more fast-paced city. So that's definitely something to consider when looking at the schools that you potentially want to apply to. So number 3 is to consider how large the program is, how many people are accepted into your major every year. So it varies greatly for theater programs. In the company that I was a part of in my university, there was about 100 of us scattered over all 4 years of the schooling. But I also applied for schools that only allowed 6 people in a year. So it's something that you really want to look into. Do you want to be a part of a more smaller, tight-knit group? Or are you okay with being in a much larger potential class? So that's something to definitely look into. That could also change the way in which you apply for the school, especially if it's a theater program. So that's definitely something to look into. All right. Number 4, how many shows do they do a year? And specifically for theater majors, do they allow freshmen to participate in shows? I've come across some undergrad programs when I was applying for schools that they would not allow freshmen to audition their freshman year because they wanted them to focus on fundamentals and things like that. So that's definitely something that you should consider when applying to a theater program. Do you want to be able to take that first year to get those fundamentals, to take those classes, to kind of acclimate yourself? Or do you want to just jump right in and start auditioning and get on the stage and get that practical experience? So it's definitely something that you need to consider. And also, how many shows do they do a year? Do they only do a spring musical and a fall play? Or do they do student-directed things all the time? Is there 5 faculty-directed shows? So that's definitely something to look into when choosing, because you always want to know how much experience you'll be able to get. All right. Number 5. Okay, so this is a this is a lot more specific to the now, and that is how undergrad programs are handling the COVID-19 pandemic. Because we are in such unprecedented times, different schools are kind of handling it different ways. And it's something that you need to look into how a certain program is handling the COVID-19 pandemic in order to determine if you're comfortable with how that school is handling it. Some schools have completely suspended their seasons. Some schools are switching to Zoom. Some have some classes in person, some classes on Zoom. So it's just something to look into to see if you're comfortable with how that program is handling the pandemic and if that's something that you would be comfortable going into. All right, next one, number 6, is to look at the specifics of the major. Does it offer everything that you want it to? So if you usually go onto schools' websites, you can look at the specific classes that are a necessity for the major that you want to go into. And if you have, if you want to emphasize in dance, or if you want to emphasize in on-camera stuff, you need to make sure to go into those things and just double check that these programs offer the classes that you want, because some schools may not put emphasis on one or the other or things like that. So definitely to go in, it doesn't matter what major it is, whether it's theater or otherwise, I would suggest going into the website and really deep diving into those subjects just to make sure that all of the core classes that you have to take to complete the major that you want covers everything that you want it to. On to number 7. This one's a little bit more broad in terms of a college experience, but are there related clubs to things that you're interested in? Does the university offer for theater students that are interested in improv? Is there an improv club? If you're a really big movie buff, is there a movie club? Things like that. Clubs are really great ways to meet people outside of your major, to get involved on campus, and to just grow a really big community on campus that will really enhance your years at that school. So that's definitely something to potentially look into to see if you have maybe a little bit more of a niche interest, see if there's a club that's related to it. That would really enhance your experience during your schooling. All right, on to number 8. Something that I would really advise is to visit the school if you can. Whether that's going on campus in order to have just a tour of the campus. If you can shadow somebody, that's even better. You can go and experience a class with someone that's potentially in the major that you want to go into. Things like that will really give you a sense of what that school is all about, and it'll really help you in your decision when choosing the right school for you. You can also, if you're on campus, it's a lot easier to get that vibe, that feeling that the campus gives off. And so sometimes you can walk onto a campus and be like, this ain't it. But other times you walk on and you just really feel good on the campus. And so that'll really help if you're able to kind of determine which school is perhaps better than others. Number 9 is figuring out if the university or the undergrad program you're looking into offers any financial assistance, such as scholarships. Scholarships are a great way to kind of lessen tuition per semester. There are scholarships based off of grades in high school. There are scholarships based on what undergrad program you're going into or what major you're going into. So that's something really important to look into if money is something that you are worried about going into your undergrad education. Definitely looking into what financial help they have and what scholarships you might be eligible for each semester. So that's definitely something to take a gander at. And finally, number 10 is making sure that the major that you want to go into has multiple experienced teachers that have experience in the field in which they're teaching, that have professional experience. This is true in any major. This is especially true, I feel, in theater undergrads. You really want to try to learn from people that have worked in the industry. because they have real world applications, they have real world advice. So these are the people that you really want to look out for when choosing an undergrad, because they know the industry and what it is today. They've grown up in it, they have that experience in it, and those are the best people to learn from. All right, well, those were my 10 tips on finding the right undergrad program for you. Sometimes more specifically, the right theater undergrad for you. But I hope that these things are helpful to anybody looking to start their undergrad experience. And I want to thank Uprooted Theatrical Studios again for having me here. And thanks a lot.